The Headwater Sourceman here. It's December the 8th, 2022. Pretty good paper metals market today. Gold was up. Silver, I think, was up. I think it actually was up about 2% or something, or maybe more than that. Actually, I think copper did quite well. Oil took it on the chin. Again, I mean, this is like always, it's basically noise, but one can't help but to look, obviously. And like you saw today, I mean, there were not too many juniors that I saw that were up very much. Even though silver is up over 2% and gold was up, I don't know, 1%, whatever. Still the juniors were kind of muted in response. I mean, again, on average, I don't saw any 3x leverage. And I think earlier this week or late last week, I mean, juniors did well when metals didn't do well. So again, I mean, the more I see in this market or in the market really, it just confirms the idea that, I mean, almost everything we actually watch on any given day, whether it be tickers, ticker volatility, metals volatility, comments on Twitter, etc. I mean, it's pretty much all noise. Because something changes every day. Or thousands of things change every day. But cases do not change in a material way every day. Typically, the only thing that changes is price we're paying for something. That is the only change. The risk reward just goes up and down depending on what happens with price of the companies, what the cost of actually buying more ownership of a company. That is the only thing. I mean, nickel was up 5.28%, broke through the 30,000 level. It's been doing very well. And Magna Mining, which still is just absurdly cheap in my book, has had a 2-day downtrend. Despite nickel just keeps going up. And it's like, the PEA is not too far out. I think it's the end of Q1. I mean, that's just, let's say 3 months from now. With the consolidated PEA of Denison and Shakespeare. I mean, I think Shakespeare alone at these nickel prices probably worth several hundred millions, depending on what actual nickel price, etc., and other metals you actually look at, obviously. But factoring in Denison, it's like I wrote, and people ask me today, it's like, why is this selling off yesterday and today? Who knows? Why did it sell off here? Who knows? Then it started to, revalue again. Beats me. Literally no idea. I mean, I cannot believe that someone would actually sell this, for any rational reason except profit taking or take some capital gains versus all the capital losses that's everywhere in the market. That's just my guesstimate. Or somebody needs to plug some holes somewhere. I mean, it's funny. It's like 2 days ago. I mean, I have a very big position in Magna Mining. 2 days ago, I was like, I'm sweating bullets here. It's like, my net worth is changing quite a bit over the last week, simply due to Magna. And up here, it's like, again, I've had a fat position all the way up here. And so far, it's like, yes, it's stressful to have that many shares or that large of a position, but it's probably still, especially after a day like this in the nickel market, I think it's probably the best risk-reward case I actually know of. Certainly one of the best I've ever seen. So it's like that is also a hard thing. I mean, I'm not advising that anybody should have my kind of concentrated positions. Uh, but that is, I mean, stress. It's like, if you get if you find the best risk reward case you've ever seen and you have a 1% position, odds are you're actually going to do well on that, depending if it's low risk, high risk, high potential, or preferably low risk and high potential, which I think Magna Mining is. But there are no guarantees, and still, I mean, it takes a lot to. Again, the swings that I've just had in Magna over the last 5 trading days, that is not something many people could stomach. So I mean, just the last 2 days, that is a big swing for me in let's say dollar terms. And 2 days ago, I mean, the position was absurdly, or it has been absurdly large for quite some time. It just to become even more absurdly large. And it's like, I was starting to think, I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is the probably best risk reward case I know of in the entire junior space. I mean, it's so good that even though it's not gold and silver, I think it's, probably, I'm that hyped about it. But at some point, I mean, it's like this. I mean, if you have a really good case, because I see people being all in, etc. I mean, I was all in Novo going into bulk sample results. I mean, that was just stupid. That wasn't rational greed. That was just greed. And it's like, yeah, who cares? I mean, if you have a substantial position in a stock and the story is good, I mean, is it really worth it that you actually go above that, and actually, even though you're like super psyched about the case, you actually get stressed out? I don't think that's worth it. You're gonna end up making mistakes in that case. Simply because the pressure will be so large. I mean, if I had a 10% position in Magna, I wouldn't care much at all. But now my position is about 10%, so it's getting up there. It's even stressful for me, and I'm used to big swings. But I guess my point is that after this run, there's gonna be people who are like me, super bullish on this story. Maybe their favorite stock right now. Still, if the position becomes absurd, I mean, it comes a time when people just have to sell some shares. So you have natural profit taking, which has nothing to do about being bearish or bullish on the stock. It's just that, hey, I have so much exposure right now that it's becoming insane, let's say. Again, I don't know if that's what happened, but to that point, it's like, yeah, 2 days later, and it, it's actually down. I mean, it's just down to the level it was at November 29th. So I mean, really, not a big change, even though it's a wild day, but it had a good day upwards previously. I actually added some today. As crazy as that sounds, because again, 2 days ago, felt like, hey, exposure is getting, possibly beyond the extreme. All of a sudden, it's like, it's especially on a day when nickel is up 5.28%. It's like, I have no idea how much the net present value on paper just got bumped in the coming PEA on a nickel spike like this, or nickel rise. But obviously, it's like on paper, who knows, maybe Magna Mining went up at least 50 million in net present value just today. I don't know that. I'm just throwing some numbers out here, but for sure over the last week, it's up a lot. And still, prices back here, yada yada. So it's obvious that the actual value of Magna went up a lot, substantially relative to the market cap today, and still price went down. So I couldn't help myself. I actually added. And again, my case is not to be right, because I have no idea. I didn't expect somebody to sell here, but it makes sense, again, if people are actually overexposed, even though they're super bullish. And this didn't make sense to me either, but liquidity event, somebody took profits, etc. But we've seen some pretty good volume lately, so it's obvious that I think interest is starting to show up. And again, if you are a large, this volume here today doesn't even cover me and my family's position. So imagine you're a large player. Typically you don't want to run the stock up, but we have seen this steady climb, ups and downs, and that's what I would do. I wouldn't want the price to go. I wouldn't want to drive up the price 40%. I would buy some, hope that we see some selling, then I would start buying again, perhaps. So you're trying to keep your average cost down, obviously. So it wasn't a big amount, but I added some today. Still, I just want to again point out, it's like the market is totally insane, irrational on any given day. Stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with actual price or value of a company. And today, the value of Magna Mining went up, and still price went down 9%. And to me, that was too big of a discount. I couldn't say no to actually add. Maybe I'll shave that off 15% higher from here. I have no idea, but the position is already absurd. It's going to be even more absurd, but I just look at what I'm paying for all of this and what they have. And you read, like Paul Fowler here said, we've also been told by the Canadian government recently that further details on their critical minerals funding programs are due before holidays. So like, we already know that the US government or Defense Department or whatever is helping fund or looking to fund critical metals projects. And you have the Canadian government as well looking into that. And Magna Mining is, I think, the 1 out of 2 juniors in the whole space that has a feasibility stage nickel project in all of North America. So again, it's like extra funding from Canada, extra funding from US would dramatically change the case. And I think it's super cheap just regardless of that. So yeah, I think, I think this, again, I am super biased here, guys. But when I take a step back, it's like, I think the risk reward is obscene, and let's say a 15% or maybe more discount in like 2 days. Who knows what that might end up, how valuable that might end up in the long term. That I added a few extra shares at a 15% discount. Maybe maybe the buys here turns out to be, just throwing it out there, like 260%, and a buy here is gonna net 200% in 2 years. Both superb returns, but this would possibly add 60% because someone sold for 2 days. No guarantees, that's what risk reward is, but in this case, I think the margin of safety is so fat that literally all the drilling they've done so far, all of that could miss, and that would that wouldn't impact the case at all, really. That's not often you can say that. They have so much banked success already, stuff we know is already there, that it's impossible for the assays to even put a dent in the risk reward. Hopefully there'll be some pretty good assays, and maybe somebody will notice Magna and actually look into the case, because I mean, in my opinion, these coming assays, unless they make a, let's say, a discovery, a footwall discovery, that would materially change it for the better. But I don't see any risk to the downside in terms of value, even though I have no idea if price is going to respond on any given day. Maybe some will actually buy on good assays, and hopefully they'll dig in and understand that, hey, this might not be a case where you actually just do assay flipping, because in my opinion this should already be 100-200% higher already. Anyway, Western Alaska, probably the juiciest news release today. Western Alaska Minerals announces assay results for 3 thick high-grade mineralized intervals from the Water Pump Creek drill hole VPC 2222. I actually thought this was 3 holes at first glance, but then I realized this is actually 1 hole. It just has 3 different horizons that it intercepted, or mineralized horizons. And here we have, courtesy of Luke Tenhave, which runs the golddiscovery.com website. Recommend following that guy. One of the best investors around, in my opinion. Western Alaska now has a 400 meters of continuous high-grade mineralization. Today's intercepts 22.7 meters at 1,446 grams per ton AG equivalent, 9.5 meters at 601 grams per ton AG equivalent, 54.6 meters of 597 grams per ton AG equivalent. Just superb. I mean, you would pretty much be happy with any of these holes. I mean, especially this and this, or like barn burner intercepts. And all of these came from 1 hole. That is pretty fascinating. When you have some comments here, again, it's like when the people involved are really good, you really want to pay attention to their comments. The overall grades in this hole are outstanding, with some exceptional intervals with silver grades up to 39 ounces per ton in one of the internal zones. These 3 high-grade intercepts total over 86 meters in composite thickness and tied together with similar mineralization in 10 other holes to give us a 400 meter of continuous high-grade mineralized link to the sulfide chimney cut in VPC 2218. All the signs indicate this is part of a major CRD system, and we can't wait to start the 2023 drill season and continue tracing this mineralization south, where we think these zones coalesce and become thicker. I mean, we're again, like I keep saying, to really get an edge, I mean, you basically front run a future that has not yet happened, and how people's emotional response will be, let's say. I mean, this opens up, if there's a shot that this is true, imagine if they go on to say that, they may have between 3 to 5 rigs next year. So imagine if that comment is like true and it becomes even thicker. I mean, imagine a whole drill campaign, and you get many holes like this. That would be like, again, this is obviously 1 barn burner hole, and I mean, front run the next 20 news releases from Western Alaska. Do you think the value of the company and the price of the company will be higher or lower from now? I think it's higher. I mean, I think I bought some today because it ended up at minus 9% or something, and then it went up to plus 6%, whatever. I mean, it's all over the place. It's such a tightly held stock. Somebody sells, it goes down 5 to 10%. Somebody buys, it's up like, I mean, it did a 18% reversal, 3 days ago or something, intraday. 18%. So again, it's like volatility. We should use it, not get abused. It should not be used as due diligence. We take what the market gives us. price is the only thing typically that changes on any given day, except of course when you have news out like this. Did the story become materially better with this bonanza hole? No, I wouldn't say it became materially better. I think it just keeps confirming the case pretty much. And they have some combining the results from the first 23 holes drilled in the Water Pump Creek structure zone, yada yada yada, recognition of continuous elongate ribbon manto of massive sulfides 30 to 75 meters wide and 400 meters in length. When I did some quick calculations, 400 meters width 30 to 60, they used 30 to 75. I used 45 as a mean, and thickness of 20. I mean, obviously this hole had, what was the cumulative, 86 meters composite thickness, and I used 20, so more than 4 times as thick as my crude base case calculation for the first 400 meters, and this would be 1 kilometer, for example. I mean, it's just an immense system, so it's like if this might be a low ball, I mean, depending on grade, etc. But it's like, yeah, I mean, just think about it. I mean, some of these systems, one other, I don't remember if it was Santa Eulalia or whatever. I mean, I think that has been mined for like 300 years. If you get a bonanza system like that, I mean, you can just imagine the wealth in a system like that. I mean, how much that would be worth if you could pretty much produce silver possibly for free. And if silver and metals obviously go up, that's even better. And yeah, it's pretty much wide open. And you can see some, I mean, the thickness has changed obviously, but here we had 101.7 meters, 47 meters here. This was the 86 meter composite, more than 30 meters, and again might tagged onto maybe a trend coming in, trend of the IC fault. Maybe you could follow this, I don't know, but it's like, yeah, they're basically saying, hey, this might get even thicker to the south, and note how the mantle maintains very significant thickness to the south into VPC 22. That's this one here. And how the highest grade upper part of the mantle can be traced continuously for 400 meters. So again, they have multiple horizons now, and just the upper highest grade one has been traced for 400 meters. And again, imagine when they bring on, let's say, 3 to 5 drill rigs, and they say here the current plan is to drill 15,000 to 25,000 meters next season with 3 to 5 company-owned drill rigs. I mean, that depends on the budget. And they look to, have drill spacings ultimately suitable for resource modeling. Concurrently, we will explore via drilling and geophysics the multiple similar geologic settings which have been identified elsewhere on the property. I mean, that's a pretty, at least if they go for 25,000 meters and 5 rigs, let's say, I mean, that's a very aggressive campaign, and we know what they've done with just, I think, 23 holes so far. So imagine what they could do with 3 to 5 drill rigs. How much the story can change just within the next 12 months. And obviously, to have already set out plans like this, aggressive plans, they probably have a pretty good idea there. There's interest, there's money that's on the sidelines, waiting for, because most people can't buy this stock in the open market. I mean, no big player can really buy into this, because we have swings like this. I mean, just look how far it went when it, we got some FOMO and then some profit taking, and people front running the private placement, whatever. any big player has to wait for the financing to get in. So again, it's like there's shenanigans happening all the time, but it's like, what is the signal here? The signal is what the next 20 news releases is gonna show, and what the implied value might be. If it's considerably higher than now, the risks are to the upside for price. So yeah, again, it's like in Silvercrest, which had like 100 million ounces of bonanza grade stuff. I mean, not too long ago, within the last 2 years, that was valued. It was more advanced, obviously, but that was valued between 1.3 billion to 2 billion. Western Alaska is at 141. They have to raise some money, let's say 160. I mean, obviously there's some serious potential, especially given the size of the potential price here. So yeah, I think Western Alaska has multi-bagger potential, and I'm actually quite surprised. I mean, that there's not been really any insider selling. I mean, these guys own a lot of the shares, and I would guess that they're up quite a bit. So I guess they're pretty much, for the most part, riding this to some kind of takeout or something. I mean, they obviously know what they have. I mean, you don't see results like this very often. I mean, this is super rare. So yeah, to me, this is a tier 1 exploration story. If we're wrong and all of a sudden mineralization stops, maybe this might not be a mine. But if it goes beyond 400 meters of strike, this might be a superb mine worth hundreds of millions or billions of dollars sometime in the future. So again, that's the risk reward. We don't need everyone to lay out, but if we give these guys, let's say 2 years, my base case is that I'll be up a few 100% at least. Is that a guarantee? Nope. Newfound Gold announces 70 or 50 million bought deal financing. Obviously, I mean, with the Keats West discovery, I think it materially changed for the better. I mean, that was just not good numbers. That was a new zone, a new target with thick bonanza grade stuff. And I mean, that was my case when I first wrote it up. I mean, they are brute forcing. They are brute forcing this. The gold district they have up in Newfoundland. I don't know how many drills they're up to right now, but it's like last I checked, they have had about 10 drills, and I think the Crisis machines are up and running, so turnaround time is probably even better, and with a new discovery, yeah, I expect this to just keep on growing, and of course it will be volatile. We've seen the stock, go up 6 times, down 50% or more actually. Now it's up, a double from the bottom or whatever. If they can just keep drilling and hitting good stuff, I mean, hopefully this 50 million raise will, create 500 million in value. So they're really brute forcing the ROI with having so many drill rigs. So it costs a lot of money, obviously. But I mean, as long as the money raised gets outpaced with value created, that's simply a good thing. And I mean, yeah, it's a high octane growth story. Then we have Golden Tag. They actually, where's the latest news? Golden Tag to acquire La Parilla Silver Mine Complex from First Majestic Silver. You can read this yourself. I mean, they're buying a past producing mine. I mean, this obviously is a transformational thing for the company. I'm assuming this isn't really the best of minds, or were at least. But I mean, who knows? If we go into a silver bull, a real silver bull, I think the stock will be actually trade halted for 6 months. Our short-term objective is to commence exploration within near mine workings in order to expand the resource base to support our ultimate golden vision of placing the asset back into production. So they won't try to put it back into production anytime soon, and I think that's a wise decision because we know the supply chains etc. are effed up, and almost no fledgling up and coming producers actually made it to commercial production in a good way. I mean, there are some exceptions, I guess. But yeah, I mean, we can't do much now because it's going to be halted for 6 months anyway. Still, I mean, transformational with some good timing. Where will the silver price be in 6 months when this starts trading? No idea. I mean, if it's up at just throwing something out there, $30 per ounce, I mean, this might turn out to be a very timely acquisition. Headwater Gold announces completion of 2022 drilling campaigns at the Spring Peak and Agate Point projects in Nevada. Highlight is Spring Peak, and drilling was suspended due to the onset of inclement winter weather. All drilling was 100% funded by Newcrest Mining Limited, pursuant yada yada. Some really good notes here. I mean, again, these are really serious people, Caleb and the company, and they have a lot of skin in the game. And obviously, Newcrest is probably one of the smartest majors around. So if they have given this team thumbs up in their projects, I mean, they're not wasting their time, and they're not wasting our time as shareholders. Headwater's 2022 drill program at Spring Peak consisted of 10 holes drilled, totaling 3,173 meters, all of which encounter significant epithermal veining and alteration zones. All assays are pending and expected in early 2023. Targeted high-grade epithermal vein mineralization in multiple interpreted structural feeder zones, including 4 holes offsetting the disc of vein zone discovered by Headwater in 2021. The thickest vein intervals observed in this year's Spring Peak drilling were along the up and down dip projection of the disc of vein zone, where all 4 holes intercepted broad intervals of gingaro-banded epithermal veining, silicification, and hydrothermal breccias along an apparently planar structural zone. And 1,000 meters in 4 drill holes was also completed. Agate Point, 2 of the holes encountered significant epithermal alteration at depth. Assays are pending. So, for a company with a 15 million Canadian market cap, funded by Newcrest, even though, I mean, if Spring Peak is successful, I think they're funded all the way to production or feasibility study or something like that, and would retain 25% of interest. And we know, I mean, Newcrest is such a large company, they would probably not bother with anything less than a $500 million project. And 25% of that is a significant amount for a company like Headwater. Obviously, I mean, that would be a 10-bagger in value, and they don't even have to be diluted to get there. I mean, that's a long way from now, obviously. But I mean, yeah, this is really what you wanted to see. I mean, they hit, especially at Spring Peak, they hit in all holes. I think some veins were actually, multiple individual banded veins ranging from centimeter scale to greater than 2 meters. Several additional zones of veining. I mean, I have no idea what the assays, etc. are gonna be, but this looks like, I mean, things are getting better for Headwater Gold. Thumbs up from Newcrest, and if you have a $15 million market cap as a start, and I mean they have 4, I think, JV projects and more that they own themselves. So it's like, I mean, certainly the risk to the upside, no real risk of even dilution, except for if they want to raise money and do more work on their wholly owned projects, etc. In my opinion, one of the absolutely best early stage exploration stories in the space. Top tier management, funding secured. Yes, upside is more limited because they would not retain 100% of what they find, but they have so many avenues for upside surprises because they have so many. I mean, they risk to the upside basically, and who knows? Maybe they find something and it's like Newcrest might, decide, hey, it's not big enough for us, but who knows? Maybe it, will be big enough for a mid tier or something like that. Really love this story. Again, the case was, a hodl story. I mean, let these guys do their thing. I mean, if now it looks like Spring Peak is delivering, but let's say Spring Peak does not deliver. They get many kicks at the can at many projects thanks to Newcrest. So it's like there's no results that can come out anytime soon that would kill the story or make Headwater Gold expensive. So I really like that. Eskay Mining, not much to say because we're still waiting on those assays. And again, the only thing I know is what price is doing. And price has gone down. Okay, yeah. And there's some bashing, of course. Again, the only thing I know is price. And the problem with SK is that they're doing, they've drilled 30,000 meters across many targets, exploration drilling, a lot of exploration drilling. So that's a mixed bag, obviously. I mean, if they make a new discovery, that might be a game changer. But that is high risk, high reward. And the only thing, again, that mitigates, or when there's no news out, really, the only thing that changes a case is the price we're paying. So, I mean, I think, well, by definition, I mean, it looks better the cheaper it is, obviously. Especially if there's no news out. The only thing we know is that we pay less, so less success is priced in. That is the only thing we know. And I know that, how the markets work. Let's say there's tax loss selling right now. I mean, we're still in tax loss selling season. It's just 3 weeks left, but it's like, yeah, we might have tax loss selling for 3 more weeks. And what was I gonna say? I mean, personally, yes, I would expect that if the early core looked really good, they probably would have 1 second. Okay, I thought I was gonna sneeze. Excuse me. I would expect that to be out. So do I expect, am I sitting here promising, barn burner results? Whatever? No, I am not. So I mean, I think there is some merit to the fact that, hey, I mean, at least, especially the early drilling, let's say the first few thousand meters or 10,000 meters, I have no idea. If that was like superbly looking core, or even they had assays already, I mean, I think they would have released that by now. But it appears that they're gonna do a bulk release, and to me, I mean, I'm certainly for that. Otherwise, like I think I recently discussed, let's say the first 5,000 meters of exploration drilling barely hit anything that the market would care about. Maybe they actually, snagged something. And it's like, to the team, the actual geologists who are like, yeah, you don't hit the bullseye on the first try. I mean, it's hard enough to locate a new target, especially VMS, which can snake and pinch and be offset by faults. I mean, it wasn't easy to find Eskay Creek. I mean the discovery hole was, I think, hole 140 or something. So I mean they drilled 139 holes before they actually discovered Eskay Creek. But you know how the market is, and management and all companies know how the market works. So I'm not at all against just bulk releasing. Maybe there's a lot of bad holes. Maybe the majority of holes are bad, but some good, and especially you get some kind of context, which would be really good. So everything offsets each other, and you can kind of get some net balance. There's some some good tidbits, some bad tidbits. I mean, we know the team is excellent. And I think John De Decker is, I mean, obviously he's a genius level intellect pretty much. These guys are serious. The only thing we know is that price has gone down, and the market knows they will need to raise money for 2023. And I think everyone suspects that, hey, at least if the first holes were barn burners, that would be out already. So I mean, I can see all that being true. But I'm getting tempted to add even without knowing the results here. Even though I prefer, especially since over this period of time, I mean, SK is not the only stock that has gone down. A lot of really de-risked companies have been absolutely slaughtered. So this is not unique to Eskay Mining for sure, even though everybody feels like it's always personal, that why is my stock down? This is a terrible story, yada yada. It's like, yeah, but that goes for pretty much every junior when we go into the abyss in terms of sentiment. And when we go in the opposite way, people aren't going to complain that they're shitty juniors that they shouldn't even buy in the first place, perhaps go up 300%. Because they picked them, if you know what I mean. They own them. Of course they should be up 300%, even though it might be stocks that no rational person would really touch, except if they really knew what they were doing and playing the sentiment game. So this is SK still a wait and see, and I have no idea. Again, it's like probably a mix of tax loss selling, paranoia, worried about assay results, why they're taking so long, and then market knows they're gonna raise, etc. But it's, in my opinion, it's like, yeah, if the only thing that changes is price, which has been the case for the last at least 2 months, by definition it becomes more attractive without having any additional information. Also, Novo Resources did a shareholder address, and they talk about the difficulties, etc., which been plaguing Western Australia, and the fact that they have 52 million Canadian in cash, $20 million in investments, so that comes out to 72, and the market cap right now is 76. So at face value, you're paying 4 million for all of this, which is the largest junior land holding in all of Western Australia, I would expect. And they're drilling away. So I mean, in terms of success, one would say 4 million worth of success and values priced in right now for everything in this picture. Do I think all of this is worth 4 million? No, I don't think so. So this is one of those rare cases or rare situations where you have a, right now at least, very cashed up junior explorer that has a 76 million market cap, but it's still not really pricing in anything. So even though, yes, it's more higher valued market cap wise than most early stage exploration companies, most exploration stores don't have 52 million in cash. So we can guarantee that that they'll make a significant discovery at Betcher or Nanyeri North. We just know that they have ammo to see if they can. And you pretty much, pretty much nothing is priced in. That's all we know. I have not given up on Novo, even though, so far since 2017-18, almost nothing has gone the way I hoped or thought. And the story has changed and changed and changed from primarily conglomerate exploration to putting a project into production at the worst possible time to shutting that down, along with, it's not unique for Novo to not get into production, even though, again, that's what everybody who bashes Novo makes it sound like. They were just terrible operators, and there's still people who say that, Novo was a scam or has been a fraud. It's like, how dumb do you have to be? Even Quinton, I remember him saying when it was around the peak valuation back in 2017, he commented that the valuation was crazy and ahead of itself, and he didn't sell a single share. I don't think he still haven't sold a single share. That would be the worst scam ever. Yeah, sure, you got paid for it, but at the peak, I don't know how much his actual stock holding in Novo was worth. So, in a regular company, you would for sure see some kind of, after a 10-bagger, and probably, my guess is that 90% of his net worth was in Novo at the time, when at least at the peak. Yeah, I would think that most people would take profits in that case, but he didn't. So I don't. It doesn't add up, and especially with Mark Creasy basically venturing in his Pilbara holdings to the company, and the Sumitomo, becoming a shareholder, etc. Newmont, I think, still has their stake. So when you really think about it, this was a very ambitious junior that has been trying to unlock something unique and extremely large scale. Gigantic price, where had they succeeded, an immense amount of value could be unlocked. And they might have a success. Obviously, if you have 52 million, you can do a lot with 52 million in Western Australia, given the prospective geology. But I just find it absurd, and it's like you have to be pretty dumb to call it anything close to a scam, because they would have been the worst scammers around. In that case, not taking profits and even fooling, let's say, Mark Creasy, who knows Western Australia better than anyone else. Hey, come in and take a share, take a larger position in Novo. It's like, yeah, he if anyone would know that it's not a scam. But again, it's like, just ask this guy here. This is stuff I get almost every week. And nobody should believe Calm Invest on anything. This paid pumper screwed a lot of retail. Was one of the worst Novo pumpers. It's really super fun when I can't guarantee success in anything. I bet I lost more in Novo, or have lost more in Novo than this guy. But it's like, yeah, if I had a 100% track record, I would be a billionaire already. I don't have anywhere close to 100% track record. It's just that some stocks that do really well, and you hold them long enough and allow them to do well, you give management time to create even more value. They're supposed to offset all the many losses you have. I have, I think, quite a few shares that from my initial purchasing, I'm down 80 to 90%. And that's okay. That comes with the territory. Especially if, in the case of Novo, it's not like it's just became unjustifiably cheaper. A lot of things went wrong, have gone wrong. And of course, I mean, mistakes were made by the company, etc. But also you have a bunch of external stuff that just made everything a lot harder and, made it worse. But the past is, we're not investing in the past. We are not investing in the past. When I actually bought some for the first time in a long time, added some shares of Novo when it hit, what did it hit, like, I think I had around 26, 27, 28, something like that. I have no idea where Novo is going to trade in a year. I don't know if they're going to make a discovery. Maybe they find something Hemma-like and we will all be sharing within 12 months. Or they don't. Maybe they burn 50 million in cash, find nothing of significance. That is the risk reward. Nothing is guaranteed. It's the few real success stories that should pay for the many cases that doesn't pan out. With that said, am I like going full throttle into Novo even though it's like at face value ridiculously cheap? No. And am I happy about how share price of Novo has developed? For sure not. Am I angry at management? No. Am I angry at Quinton? Absolutely not. I know he has done his best throughout all this time, and I think he has given a lot more value. I mean, the Crescat presentations are worth their weight in gold. My biggest winners over the last 3 years, I think everybody, all of those are stories that I got onto because Quinton highlighted them. I mean, I made more in so far in Snowline Gold than I lost in Novo, for example. It's just you can't just throw up your hands as soon as something goes wrong. There's gonna be a lot of stocks over or investment lifetimes that are gonna go south. We just need to have some big winners or potentially some high margin or high margin of safety plays where we, I mean, I-80 Gold, perfect example. One could have, in my opinion, a pretty big position in I-80 when it hit, $2 or whatever. I mean, I wouldn't be against, having a 20-30% position actually in that one. It's like, I mean, imagine having a 50 to 100% return on a 20 to 30% position. I mean, that's considerable. Obviously, that would pay for a large amount of 1% positions that went to zero. So that's what I think a lot of people miss. Unfortunately, in the case of Novo, me and the family members had a substantial starting position in Novo. So that was one that hurt a lot in terms of portfolio losses, but at the same time other companies have offset that. The Goliaths, the Newfound Golds, the Novo Resources, Snowline, some other stuff. And it's like lately Headwater, I mean Brixton done well, etc. So it's like the past is the past, and again, just so you know, I'm certainly not perfect, and so you have your disclaimer here from Seppe that that you shouldn't believe anything I say. Hopefully, though, even though there is obviously people who think like this, I hope I am able to provide some value, and that not everyone literally has been all in Novo since the top and only bought the top and obliterated their whole portfolio and missed a lot of the, other success stories since then. Some thoughts on some companies. Again, not investing advice. I cannot guarantee that any of these companies will be big successes or continue to be big successes. It's all about risk reward, and consider me biased. I own shares of probably all companies I mentioned. A lot, if not all, are sponsor companies, so makes me even more biased. And again, if nothing of what I say makes sense, you should go with the set players route and do your own due diligence and always make up your own opinion. Because again, if you don't see the case, I mean, it's hard enough for me to stick to my guns when a position becomes very large or volatility is here, yada yada. But that's why, I mean, we're supposed to make it simple. Again, most cases, or I mean, it sounds redundantly simple almost. Like, yeah, I think if I hold this stock for a year or two, either I think I'll be up a lot or down. I mean, that's pretty much the options I see for a lot of the hodl cases, at least. Thanks for listening. Hit the thumbs up if you like this stuff. I wish you well. Bye bye.